Hey, check it. My name is Sarah, and now I'm the best. Found me in the test. I put you to the test. You know we got the best in the house in the building. Hey, Cam in the building. Hey. Oh.
1 2 1 2.
I like the freestyle.
That's right.
We should start with the freestyle.
I can't beatbox that good though.
Yeah, but it was pretty good.
All right,
I
let's
caught the
end
flow.
with one when I'm a little more. Like,
Okay, we can end with one. And Chad can
yeah,
help us out
Chad's
with
a dope rapper.
Really?
Beat maker.
No.
that. You don't have any freestyle skills?
No skills at all.
Never tried?
Producing, but
Okay.
not on the lyrical tip.
Not
as
on the
much.
ones and twos.
On the ones and twos.
Oh,
yeah.
that's a phrase. Okay.
Yeah, that's DJ.
The DJ. Okay. On the
I've
track.
been known to DJ, been known to produce,
Mm-hmm.
not been known to rap.
Okay.
I'll save myself the embarrassment.
I have a little bit of skill, so.
We heard. We got a little.
I have no
little
skills
sneak
at all.
preview.
I can hear it, but I can't do it.
We all have skills, some sort of skill set.
Yeah, I think I have a good ear, but not. I don't think I could rap.
Okay.
So what is this? I don't even know where I'm at. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm coming here with not a lot of information, except that I know my man Eddie here.
Yeah.
Just met you.
Yes. Such a pleasure.
Yes.
Yeah, we have some ancient connections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kingdom of Kush.
Kingdom of Kush.
Yeah, that's right.
Kemet, the motherland.
So, and my last name is Muska, and I was gonna do this company and reverse my last name. I was gonna call it Axum, and then I discovered about Axum and ancient Ethiopia and all this stuff that goes along with it. Originally looking into if my last name spelled backwards was taken, and so that kind of initially about 8 years ago led me into some of the research and found out about a lot of that information based on a random search.
Wow.
Took me down a whole black hole of the Holy Grail being preserved there. And,
the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah, or the Ark of the Covenant, excuse me.
I knew what you meant. I knew what you meant. We're right here. We're right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, they say the Ark of the Covenant is being held in Ethiopia.
And one person watches it their entire life, and they don't leave that place. And when that person dies, they're replaced by a new guard of it. And it's pretty interesting.
And you're like not allowed to touch the person.
Yeah.
And they're known to like go blind after a certain amount of time because of the energy emanating from the Ark of the Covenant.
Wow.
So strong.
Whoa. Yeah.
That's purpose.
That's
right?
purpose.
Yeah, that's living in purpose.
That's living on purpose.
Wow.
And they find it's their honor and their duty to be there.
No doubt.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I find that really interesting.
Wow, you got to come out there.
Someday I have to.
Yeah.
And there's skateboarding is actually like, it's become global. Skateboarding has reached everywhere. And then there's some homies in Ethiopia that do projects out there. They got a skate park built. And that's in
Addis. I think I've heard about this. Addis Ababa.
Yeah.
The capital.
Yeah. And these guys, they raised some funds, got it together, built a skate park there. And
wow.
It's just so cool to see. Skateboarding is my roots, in case you didn't know. And
yes, of course.
Yeah, that's what my backbone to everything. And obviously, I'd love to do many other things, but skateboarding being the root of everything for me and the introduction to all these other things that I express myself through. And but to see it from when I was first coming up and being this like super underground, kind of. Outcasts of society in a lot of ways, to see it like branch off and make its way everywhere throughout the world, including into places like Ethiopia.
Yeah,
and
that's so
and
dope.
Seeing the joy that it brings to the kids and like their excitement and especially seeing it through there, like where like now it's like, okay, California skateboarding, it's sort of like taken for granted a bit because it's been here for so long and so accessible, and it's like the mecca of skateboarding is here. So then when you see it in this like a new place like Ethiopia where it's being embraced for the first time and they're discovering it, and you see like these kids just like
going
running and grabbing the board and just smiling and like and it reminds me of like when I was a kid and I first
grabbed the board.
Wow.
so cool to see things like that.
Yeah.
We talked before you got here because Kersha Marley, Stephen Marley's baby's mama, hit me to the Gully in Jamaica. They have a new skate park and we're going to try to take Cryptic over there to paint it.
Nice.
And
nice.
she was saying the same thing, like these kids get on the board for the first time, and it's amazing to see because they've never seen a skateboard in person.
Do you know what's the name of the place where it's at?
I
Like
don't
Memphis,
know. I'm not
Memphis,
sure.
I think, or
I'm
something
not
like
sure.
that. Because I'm pretty sure my friends from Denmark built it.
Yeah, probably.
From Copenhagen. They have like a different projects where they go like into all over the place where skateboarding, at least like skateboarding hasn't infiltrated and has a skate park and
Yeah,
things.
and they build them.
They've built them all over.
Well, there's
the
a
place.
couple in Jamaica. This one's in a place called Gully.
Gully.
I'm not
Yeah,
familiar with Gully.
and it's it's on the rise there, and Boo Johnson just went,
Nice.
and a couple.
That's
of his
crazy
kids.
because I just did this interview with this guy today, and they're doing a documentary. It's called Humanity Stoked. I don't know if you heard of that project, but they interviewed Boo right before they came to my house today.
That's
So
right.
second time today.
Yeah,
What's up,
came
Boo?
up. That's right.
It's my
Shout
homie.
out.
Wow. that's
Diamond
incredible.
Supply in the house.
Pretty
Yeah.
funny.
Wow. So we were talking a little bit before you came, and it's my understanding that you went to San Diego first with just to start your journey into skateboarding with not much in your pocket and kind of just made something out of your dream. Is that the story? Is that how it goes?
That's a piece of the story
A
for
piece of
sure.
it.
Yeah. But for coming to California, that was the first place I came to pursue the dream of being a professional skateboarder. Yeah, I was dropped off on the beach and kept going from there.
That's actually funny. That's the first time I ever met Chad. I worked for Red Bull and Graphics, the Bong company.
Yep.
And they had a big air contest and Third Rail too, actually. It wasn't Red Bull, it was Third Rail. And they had a big air contest. And that's that video I keep telling you about where you came and the Samoan security guards threw you out. And I have this whole
Sounds
clip.
about right.
Wait.
Well, he was being rowdy and
I was a crazy young kid. Now I'm a crazy old man, but I tamed myself down a little bit here.
And we had a video crew there filming it, and Chad kept like running in and just going on the ramp, and they were like, "You got to stop," and he's like, "Oh, this is our shit. Well, I'm not stopping. Like, this is what we do." And they're like, they just didn't get it because they weren't used to it because it was so new. Now it's not as new, and being rowdy.
I have no memory of this at all.
I'm gonna find the
Put it on
video.
the record.
I did find the video. I found the tape.
I got to see it.
So what I'll do is I'll film it on my camera.
I would love to see it.
But it's
I know
great.
Risky always tells me about some moment that he remembers back then. You're like,
Well, it's a whole clip, dude.
Yeah.
It's a whole
Oh, is
like
that the
minute
same-
and a
is
half.
that the same
Yeah,
clip
it's
you're
the
talking
movie I
about?
produced for Kelly. It's called
Okay.
Made in America.
Okay.
And then you ride out in a Cadillac,
Oh
and
my
Slightly
gosh.
Stupid is like fighting next to you. You're driving off, they're fighting. Miles and Kyle are fighting on the ground, and it's a whole thing.
Wow.
And what's
You're gonna have to
interesting
see
is
this one.
it's when we were young and we were new and we didn't know what we were doing. Like we were just living our lives. And now Slightly Stupid is huge and has influenced a lot of people, and so have you.
Oh.
And I'm super blessed to have been there and taking it for granted, like you said, because we were just going out to a barbecue and having fun.
Yeah.
And now
Some magical times back then, for sure.
It really was.
So that's how you guys met?
First time I ever met Chad. Yeah, he doesn't remember meeting me though.
No, this is long. This is 20 some
25
years
years.
ago.
Wow.
So a lot has happened in between.
That's
you
right.
know,
That's right.
But definitely, man, there was a lot of great people that area brought together at that time, and it's like kind of like any industry, it goes through different geographical locations of where the hype is at. And at that time, San Diego for skateboarding
Yeah, it was ASR.
was really big.
ASR
and
was the pinnacle, like the
a
spot.
lot of companies were down there, and then right on Mission Beach, where I don't know if you've ever been there, it's like a big roller coaster, and it was sort of just like this like meeting ground for like you went there and you saw pro skaters. And for me, coming from Vegas at that time, you never saw pro skaters really in Vegas except for a couple locals that were pro out there. And once in a blue moon, a team would come through or something. But to be dropped off and then all of a sudden see like all the like dopest pro skaters of that time just in this one little courtyard area where you can just pull up and skate with these guys, it was like a dream come true at that time.
Yeah.
It was a good time for sure. It's sort of, that was definitely the spark of everything that really happened for me. Started in that little beach town where I got dropped off. And
What do you mean dropped off?
I had got busted for graffiti in Vegas for my third time. I was living in a trailer park on the outskirts of Vegas. I really didn't have a lot going for me. I'd broken my ankle really, really bad where I had metal plate and surgery. And so I wasn't even able to skate at that time. But I just was like, you know what? Like, I can't stay here and do juvie time or all the community service, all the things I was going to have to do for my graffiti charges. And these girls I knew were going on a family vacation to San Diego. And so I just said, you know what? I'm out. Like, it's on. I'm going. I'm going for it. And they just drove me to Mission Beach, pulled over, opened the car door, let me out. I had a backpack, my Walkman, and I was still on a cane because I was getting over surgery for my ankle. And I had that was it. I had my headphones and my backpack, and I had met one guy, this is my homie Mikey, that worked at Hamill's. There was a skate shop that was right there. But I only met him one time, and he was like, hey, if you ever come to San Diego, hit me up. You know, and I rolled up and was like, what's up? I'm here. You know? And
what are the odds?
That's great.
Well, he looked at me and was like, I'm working, bro. Like, what are you? I don't know what you want. And I was like, oh shit. Like, what am I gonna do? You know?
That's dope.
But I just kicked it on the beach right there, and it was a different time, you know, back then. And there was a community of like kind of like squatter kids and graffiti kids, and they had a crew AF, and it was always faded, and we were pretty much always faded back then, and we were crazy. We were crazy kids, and they took me in and sort of like, you know, showed me the ropes of the beach. These are the people that are around, and you know, if you need some food, we can help. And we would beg for change or do whatever we had to do to eat and to survive then. And I was hurt, so I couldn't really showcase what I had, my ability on my skateboard. I wasn't able to show it at that time because I had some hookups before that, and there was some momentum going. But right when that momentum had started, I broke my ankle really, really bad, and I had to get a metal plate with pins in it. And so that took me out for almost a year. And when I got dropped off in San Diego, I was about only 4 months into the recovery process of that. So I just was like a normal street kid basically being dropped off, and like I couldn't be
no
like,
means.
you know, hey, what's up? I'm here to be a pro skater. Yeah, you're like, yo, you're on, you know, cane.
Like,
you're on a cane. You're like, I'm a pro skater.
Good luck.
You can't even walk down the beach, let alone, you know. So it was rough. It was a crazy time, but through that I met some amazing friends and really started the recovery process and just started, you know, I was really into graffiti at that time still, and I had my sketchbook, and some of the other guys were graffiti writers as well. There was also a crew called TV, and my friend Mikey was one of the writers in TV, and that was just like my connection was graffiti and skateboarding. And at that time, it really was a community, and they brought me in and looked after me.
San Diego's always been a good source of graffiti. Like, it's really close to LA. So we'd always collaborate with dudes down there. Tribal was down there.
Yeah,
so.
Tribal was huge, and that was like, you know, Donger was skating for him, and I had rode for this company Maple, who sponsored me before I came out, but when I got hurt, there wasn't really much.
There wasn't much to do.
Yeah, we're like, because I wasn't really like fully on. I was just kind of starting, and but you know, Donger had rode for Third Rail and or Tribal, excuse me, not Tribal. I think Third Rail was down there too, right?
No, we were in LA, but we were so close with Tribal and ASR.
Tribal,
so
excuse me. Yeah,
we were down there a lot.
Yep, and then the ASR trade shows, and I mean everything. It was a whole scene out there, and slowly but surely though, it started to gravitate north, and then it kind of went to like Orange County area, and that was all going off out there for like the companies and everything. And I moved up there, spent some time, and then eventually just made my way to Los Angeles because, you know, that's where you go to make your dreams come true, right?
And that's what you did. Exactly. That's
Los
what
Angeles.
you did.
This is where it's at, city of dreams. So I don't know so much about skate culture. So once you move to Los Angeles, how does the process work to get kind of sponsored? Because I can imagine now with social media, it's probably much easier for.
It's definitely like completely
change the
new
game.
World, yeah, and it's made it more accessible for people, but it's also made it a lot harder for, I think, individuals to stand out, because now you have like, you know, anybody can showcase their videos, and back then there was no YouTube, there was no internet even, you know, there was no cell phones.
Yeah, I got a cell phone when I was like 14. Yeah, so before that,
I didn't even have you know, we had pay phones and everything. So
and
it was
pagers.
If you were balling, you know what I mean? Like, I was lucky to get a couple of quarters to call home or whatever, you know, to make it happen. But it was such a different time at that point. But you really had to just show up and be on the scene and connect with the photographers that were working for the magazines, or go to the contests and skate in the contests. And it was really about just putting yourself out there and being exposed to people that were within the industry and being recognized by somebody who either owned a company or had access to people that did somehow. It was crazy. Like looking back on it, I'm like, how did we do anything? Like, how did we get from point A to point B without navigation? Like, how did we know to meet up? It's like, meet me at the spot next week at 7:00. Like, it's like,
right.
Wow. Like,
I mean, I liked it a lot
funny.
better back then though, because, from where I sat, like as a marketing director, discovering talent versus like digging through your Instagram feed was way better, because the moment was more magnetic and magical. Like, to go see a dude for the first time, get it in, and then you're like, I want to fuck with that dude because that dude's dope, because you saw it, you were there, you're watching them try a trick for 9 times and then finally hit it, versus like the guy only posting the hit, what I mean? And then it was different. And I like it now too, because like we talked about, evolution is key and it's important. And the younger guys are doing a great job at evolving the graffiti and the sport. But I definitely liked, looking forward to ASR, so I could see Chad skating through the halls of the trade show, and the guys from Big Brother like just breaking shit. It was just more exciting, because now it's like you see it every day when you wake up in the morning. It's like it's just you're getting fed it.
Yeah, constant loop.
Well, I think a beautiful thing though is that like this generation, I'm not sure exactly how old you are, but like
29.
But we're living in some, the last generation that experienced life before social media, before the internet explosion. Like this will be the last generation, unless everything goes in a cycle and reverts again back to ground zero. That will remember that time. And so it's kind of a beautiful thing that we are able to experience in this transitional stage, and who knows where, technology will take humanity next, and all these things. But so like, I agree in a lot of ways. It's like, it was so precious and real back in when I was coming up and you were coming up and building these companies, and whether you were a graffiti artist or a musician or a skater, all these things, you really had to like go out there and do these things physically and connect with the industry. And like, like you said, it wasn't just, I'm going to upload my video or my song or my art piece or whatever it is you were trying to do and accomplish in life. It really took like leaving your home and going away from everything, and that still exists, but there's like, you could sort of have like an idea. I got my foot in the door through this digital representation of the world, and then that would give you the confidence to go, okay, well, maybe there is something here based on this. And and I'm not like saying one is better than the other. It's like you guys are saying with evolution, it is what it is. It's either evolve or get left behind. And so I embrace change.
Yeah, me too.
And like
Me too.
I try not to like, because I also know that like, even as a skater or as a graffiti artist, when like our generation was coming up, like there was a generation before us looking at us like, look at these crazy kids, like thinking about the original graffiti writers that were like, what's up with this new style of tag, or or new skateboarding tricks that they're doing, or a new style or music that you're listening to. Like, it's like when I was coming up and people were like Wu-Tang, you heard Wu-Tang, you're like, I'm sure there was older dudes that were like, what the hell is this crazy shit,
doubt.
And now that's like me hearing the mumble rap, and I'm like,
The mumble rap.
What is this stuff? Like, you know what I mean? Like, but I check myself and I go like, don't be that guy. You know what I mean? Like this is if they did exactly what we did, then it wouldn't be evolving. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it wouldn't, humanity has to, the youth has to show their own, they want to be their own person, you know what I mean? And they want to express themselves. They don't want to just be exactly what their older brother was, or
of course not,
what their dad was or mom was, or all those things. It's like there's this like need for humanity to expand and take where the last generation left off and start from there, and then build and grow from beyond.
I mean, I guess the future is like doing it at your house with other people virtually, like where you can all get in the same room and like write, it's like a yard, right? And it's where like you have a yard and you're able to go to that yard and paint on a digital platform, but you're in the yard and everyone gets done. It's like, check out my piece. Or go to the skate park and ride on your virtual situation and never even have to leave the crib. And I think that's wonderful, you know, that it evolves that way. But there's still something very sentimental about actually had, like, for instance, shopping. You know, nowadays, like when I was fashionable, when I was 22, 19, I had to go to 4 different stores, one for my belt buckle, one for my shoes, one for my Ben Davis.
We know you still do, Eddie. I seen you on Rodeo Drive the other day.
Walking in and out.
But now it's like you go to Urban Outfitters and you get 3 looks in one swoop. You know what I mean? Which is great. You know, I got a 17-year-old daughter, and I've watched her evolve and change her style and how accessible everything is to her. And I love that, you know, because it's different, you know. But there's definitely something magical about that process of, you know, earning that little bit of whatever it is that you're getting or that you're giving, like the process to it, you know, the hands-on experience, you know.
Yeah. You know what it makes me think about? It makes me think about how, at least the way I think is like, we're moving into a space that is less rooted in the third dimension, like the physical reality, you know? So it's like things are moving faster. The earth is vibrating higher. And so now it's almost like kind of how we think about manifestation, where you can think something and it shows up, you know, within a few days or however. Minutes, however your manifestation muscle is right now. Yeah. But if you've experienced it. And so it's almost like some of the industries like skating, it seems like, and fashion, it's moving up with it. So now we're able to get what we need just by like the mental or just like the digital. It's much quicker.
So like the digital world is almost like an extension of the human mind at this point.
Yeah.
Which in a lot of ways it is. It's like, you know, they say that like at some point humans will be hybrid with technology somehow. But we already are in a lot of ways.
Cyborgs. We're already like cyborgs. Is that the word?
I
Cyborgs?
Guess, yeah. No, for sure. But we already are, because even though the chip may not be implanted in our brain, any answer to any question is in our hand, you know? So it's like, how do I do this? Who did this first? What? Boom, 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 boom. You know, the only difference is that in the future, maybe our brain would be hardwired into the chip and we would think that question and then instantly get the answer.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, it happens already too. When you talk about that, it's like, you know, like I'm sober now, right? I'm in the program and I learned the 3rd step prayer. And like I looked on my phone and something about third step prayer came up in my feed. And I was like, wow. So it's kind of already like that. Like your phone is an extension of your brain because it hears what you say and calculates what it delivers you.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of a different.
That's a little bit of like they're watching you.
Well, no,
but
100%. Take every single thing. There's an algorithm recording everything we say, whether your phone's on or off.
Yeah.
And it's being utilized to sell you product.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Okay.
To categorize you and sell you.
Take the sell part out. I was trying to learn the 3rd step prayer, and it delivered me a video that I could listen to and hear it over and over again, because reading it, I was telling you how difficult it was. It delivered me a solution for a problem that I had. It was a video, and I clicked go, and all of a sudden I was listening to it versus trying to read it. And that's the only way I was able to memorize it, because it's written so long ago that I couldn't. It's not in our speaking terms, so I was getting caught up like with a dyslexia kind of thing. So you're right. It's built to capitalize, but sometimes you get that little gem where it's like what you need, you know. And that goes back to manifestation. It goes back to what you choose to look at when they feed it to you. Like I don't look at bath towels when they pop up. You know what I mean? It's just not, even though I need them, right? I just ignore that part.
They're going to be on your feet
today.
today.
Right now, we're all going to get bath towels.
As
a matter of fact, do we have a quiet box for phones so it doesn't record this conversation?
Right? Well, it's going to go on.
So I got an idea. Why don't you tell them where we are and what we're doing? Because I think what we're here for and kind of
that's a good idea. You know, we definitely should go into that. So the idea behind this podcast is called The Space Between. So it's really about bridging kind of and entering this space where we're merging different things. So for example, we have pop culture and spirituality. So finding that space in between there to have conversation, to expand and elevate conversation, to talk about things that may not be as mainstream or might be a little bit taboo. I think that's kind of the gist. And the person who's not with us right now, he's at a meeting, but Joey Natolo, he's really the visionary behind a lot of this. And he went through what we would consider a spiritual awakening about a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And his life was one way. You can probably speak to that a bit more because you've known him since.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've known Joey for over 25 years. We worked we worked together, and I met him in a very ironic way. But basically, what happened is Joey had a really great professional career in film and television and music videos. He owned Raw Entertainment, represented a lot of video directors that are really famous now, have gone on to make movies and develop property, and then just woke up one day, and I'm ad-libbing here, but just woke up one day and all of a sudden he was woke. Like when I say woke up, I mean like he woke up, and all of a sudden everything just kind of changed for him. And he was very cut and dry, very black and white, very bottom line related in all of his relationships, except for at home. I wasn't there, so I can't speak to that. But everything was very physical to him. What do I need to do to get this? So I'm doing 1, 2, 3, and then I'm moved to the next thing. And now he lives in a whole different realm, and he lives off vibration, and he channels, and he's very, very, very connected to spirit. And so imagine being lost like that. Like he was completely lost. Like, I don't know what to do because this is not faith. What is faith? Faith is I can get this done and I can get that out of it. Or, that's my version of the story. And now he's created this because they thought he was crazy. He was in the hospital. He got checked out, 5150'd. And everyone was like, who is this person? And what are you talking about? Money's not as important as it used to be to you. What's going on here? We were feeding homeless people in the rain in Venice, which you might not know that, but like I'm stepping in puddles this deep and we're serving food to people in their tents. And that wasn't really, not that Joey that wasn't his thing, but it wasn't his thing. It wasn't my thing either, to be honest with you. I was kind of like, what the hell am I doing out here in the rain, dude? These are $140 Jordans, $250 Jordans. And now everything's very different. So he feels that story is important. And he also feels that there's other people who have gone through similar awakenings or whatever you want to call it. And if people can relate to Chad Muska as, this super skateboard creative dude, which you are, you have an impact on everyone that you come in contact with. We want to know what your story is.
I can say that like I myself also went through a huge change, metamorphosis, complete awakening over about 7 years ago. It started a little bit before that. But it was a little bit of a slow process, and I was holding on to, I think, the old person that I was, and was partying my ass off. I was in New York City, and I was on the path to death, very fast. I was approaching it, and I don't know how it didn't happen. I was trying to kill myself without putting a gun to my head and pulling a trigger. I was like, I'm just gonna drink and do as much drugs as possible and just go as far down this hole as I can, and I'm just gonna die. And I was at that point for a while in my life, and I was going, and then one night in New York, I just went overboard, and I thought it was definitely gonna be the night that I was gonna die. And the next day I woke up and I wasn't dead. And and I looked around, I was like, whoa, what the hell am I doing? And I came back to LA, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get it together. But I kept partying a little bit more. Had a couple other crazy things happen in my life. And then I just was like, I stopped and and I was like, what the hell am I doing? Somebody who has all this opportunity and had already done a lot of things in my life that I was proud of. Somehow I convinced myself that I was a failure somehow. At one point throughout all my things that I had did and accomplished and was still doing, I had somehow assumed that I was either done because I was getting older as a skateboarder. I was, partying, all this different stuff. I was like, I didn't know what I was going to do. And that's when I just something clicked and I said, whoa, I have a lot more to offer to this world. And that's when I just changed everything. I became sober. I really started to, for the first time in a long time, I was able to look at myself and internally into myself and think about who I was and not like a public persona that I had built up through skateboarding, through the companies that I worked for, through all these things that I was doing, I was able to like find out who I was. And that was like, it's an ongoing process. Like, you know, it's not like, even if you're like, okay, somebody's like has a spiritual awakening and they have this vision that money doesn't mean anything. You know, I'm awoke and I'm living this perfect life. No, that doesn't exist. I don't believe that exists, because it's a day-to-day battle. Even I spoke with this earlier, even the Dalai Lama has, you know, thoughts of negativity or, you know, questioning their self-value. I mean, all these things are a part of humanity, and that's what makes us human, is that we have these battles within that we fight. But the more you become aware of these things, and that's the process of a spiritual awakening or becoming enlightened, is going, okay, like, you're not saying that something bad in your head's not going to happen. You're not going to like be like mad at that person because they did something, or jealous maybe because they did something you wanted to do, or have something that you don't have. These things are going to happen in humanity, and it doesn't change society. Like, okay, I don't care about money. That doesn't mean that rent's naturally going to get paid and food's just going to magically appear in your refrigerator. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think that like being enlightened or woke, or whatever the word you want to use for it, spiritually enlightened, and, you know, all these things, like, you have to have a balance with modern society and what the world that we live in. It doesn't mean that you can't be successful businessman and go and create companies and chase your dreams of producing things or producing art or whatever it is you want to do in life. Even if it's not artistic expression, if it's just straight working your job, and it doesn't matter what you're doing, but if you have the ability to think outside of the confinements and the conditioning that society has placed on all of us. We've all been conditioned to some extent. We've went to school or been raised in our surroundings of commercials and corporations and everything that we see and live has brought us to the people that we are. But I think it's about like going, okay, there's more than just this. There's more than just getting this car or being successful at this job or me. There's more than me. There's more than just myself. And I know that like in this world, we're really taught that like you have to be successful. Like you need to make money. You need to have these possessions in order to have self-worth. And that's like something where I grew up watching rap videos and being like, oh man, I'm gonna be like Grandmaster Flash and Melly Mel. I want a Cadillac and I want girls and champagne bottles. And you know, like that's the image I saw as a kid growing up. And I was like, that's what I was conditioned to feel like what was success, you know? And it wasn't until I had all those things that I realized there's still a hole here that's not being filled. You know what I mean? And if you try to fill the void within you with materialism or sexuality or I mean all those things, external experience, it's you're gonna just want more and want more and want more. Like I said for myself, I came from nothing. I was dropped off on the beach with $7 and a backpack, and I had no clue what the hell I was gonna do. And so I went from that to making what I thought was a lot of money until I met people with real money. And then I was like, damn, I don't got shit. Like, you know, and I was like, I went from being super proud of what I did to like, I need more. And that was before I had kind of this vision and sort of a change in my mindset, you know, and like I said, it doesn't mean that I don't want to continue my dreams. I love designing products. I love designing shoes, clothing, skateboards. I like to make these things. I like to see the joy that it brings people when they see and like these things. Like I love that. That's part of my DNA and my experience of this human existence is what I like to do. I was put here to design and create things. But what I had to realize is that those things aren't more important than people. And it's not bad to get something new and feel nice about yourself. I got a nice jacket or nice pair of shoes and I feel good about wearing this stuff. But we have to remember that isn't the ultimate definition of you, and that's not the most important thing. And I think we as society, as humans, have put that on a pedestal, and we celebrate wealth and materialism more than the spiritual contribution that people give to this world, or the positive contribution that people give to this world. We just got it twisted somewhere along the way.
It's intentional, though, I believe. I don't want to get deep.
You mean by the powers that be?
Yeah, of course it is. They give us something to chase that's unattainable, and they don't give us the tools to get it. It's like they take education lightly in America when that's like a key. Art programs out of schools so that kids cannot have thriving imaginations and build and create and not get caught up in the system that's created to defeat them. You don't want a kid with an endless imagination. You don't want people chasing abundance.
I spoke on that today.
You want people chasing dead end dreams and honoring money and things that they'll never have. And to speak about the evolution, it's like we grew up listening to rap music that, I'm going to be hard, or I'm going to be rich, or I'm going to have girls. And today we were driving in the car, and Chance the Rapper has a couple songs where he says, I players are quitters. They teach you that you're stronger without your woman than with her. That wasn't the rap we were getting. It's like the more women you have, the stronger you are. Not you're mad stronger if your woman's good and you have a strong foundation at home. And I'm happy that the kids are getting that message, and that this kind of platform is here, and people like Chad are speaking to that, because people listen to it. And we want people to win, but the people before us didn't want people to win, because the more people win, the less there is for them.
Yeah.
So I really believe it's intentional. It's a system that was created to control and defeat.
Yeah. But I think we're moving in a direction where we're understanding that we are holistic beings. And just like you're saying with the balance, we have to pay rent, or it feels good to put on a new coat, but it doesn't take away the fact that I'm also working on myself spiritually, mentally, emotionally. A lot of this is so disregarded in our culture. I mean, do we really have skills or schooling on our emotional intelligence or emotional well-being, how to cope with that? I think that's why a lot of people are going to yoga and finding meditation very useful and beneficial, and finding their different niches and respective religious communities. So I really do think we're moving in that direction.
I think it's
I hope so.
Yeah, I believe so. And I think that it's sort of a divide, a bit of a divide, not in a necessarily negative way, but certain people are waking up, and then I think the more people that wake up, it's a contagious thing that you spread that positivity and that awakening to others, and I'm hopeful that the world can change, and you have to be hopeful, because if you're not hopeful, then it won't change.
Then it won't, right?
No, but we're definitely vibrating at a higher level than it ever has. Things are changing way more rapidly. People are becoming way more conscious.
Yeah.
When they said 2012 was going to be the end of the world and all this stuff, the way I looked at it, and I guess it is coincides with some of the Mayan calendars and all this different, and then some of the Vedic calendars, I think, as well too, and that it's not the end of the world; it was the end of a cycle. And so, and in those transitions, it's not okay, this date it ends, and then everybody the next day wakes up and they're in the new age. The transition of the ages takes time, long amounts of time. So I think that we're experiencing, starting around that time is when the transition began. And now everybody is slowly, collectively gathering and expanding their minds and thinking in a different way than we had all been thinking before that.
Yeah, Tej, our Kundalini teacher, she says it's the end of the Piscean age and the beginning of the Aquarian age.
And that's the age of
and it's a transition. It's not an overnight, you wake up and everything's great. But I can tell you for myself, my mindset is completely different. Some of the old things I used to do, I think back, how did I even think that way? That doesn't make any sense. And that is definitely programming, not based on what I read, see, or touch. It's definitely cosmic, because it's happening really fast for me. You know, I see things very differently. I'm much more helpful. I'm much more sympathetic and empathetic to what's going on around me. And not that I was a horrible person, but I wasn't a great person. You know, I didn't stop to ask the lady if she needed help with her groceries. I didn't help the guy at church with the table. I thought about me, like you said. It was about me, what my day was looking like, how it'd be easier for Eddie. So if I'm getting that kind of vibration coming into me, you know, and I'm working on myself, but I believe it's a collective energy that's taken over, and it's kind of helping everybody get right.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. And I think you'll find that the more you work on yourself, the more you do want to help other people, because the more you work on yourself, the more you're opening up your heart chakra for you. You have more love for yourself when you work on yourself. Yeah. So if you have more love for yourself, then in turn, you're going to have more love for other people. You have more to give. Yeah. And I think that's what you're experiencing is like this burst of compassion that's coming through. So now you like, I want to share it with the lady with the groceries down the street.
And then that energy comes full circle, because when you better yourself and you're feeling good, and then you put that energy out into somebody else, and then they feel good, then it's like
it's like a battery pack.
It keeps moving.
Yeah.
And you truly can't help others if you yourself are not fully, you know, and nobody's fully healed ever, you know, like there's not, I don't think there's such thing necessarily in this form and existence, but the better you become, the more you're able to serve others. The more you serve others, the better you become inside, and it's a full
and so on
cycle.
And so on.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I feel like, you know, so many conversations are about we want to change the world, but if you can change the world just by changing yourself.
That's right. You got to start.
Yeah, because you are part of the world. You're a corner of it.
Yeah.
And when you change, like, it's like a vibration effect, like the ocean just ripples throughout. And then someone else might be like, oh, you're eating healthy. Like, I want to eat healthy, you know, and then they start reading about healthy books, and then they're down that hole. And then someone else, like you might help someone just like you said, and then they're smiling. So then they help someone else. And
it keeps moving.
Yeah. You just start lighting up. You start lighting up the world.
It's energy. It's definitely energy. I mean, the one thing that I find hard, and we talked about this earlier, is like now that you start moving and shifting, and I'm sure you can probably relate to, it's like all of a sudden the people that you have been really close to for a long time that aren't evolving and that just can't understand it, it makes it hard to be around a lot of the old situations and circumstances, because they're looking at you like, what are you talking about? But what you're talking about to you makes such perfect sense. Yeah. Do you find that a lot? Like,
yeah, but I also think that like, for myself at least, like I'll try to be open and talk to people about what my experience is. But if I feel that they're not like understanding where I'm coming from, then I don't feel a need to like push my belief or my like, I feel like there's many paths to enlightenment, and each individual's can be very different. So like, I think that's a problem, is that like, let's say with a lot of religion, you know, it's like, okay, some person discovered this religion, and then here's the exact steps of how they felt this way. And here you go. Like, you have to do this in order to get here. And so, and then that's why this religion is like, well, no, I'm right. This religion's right. This one's right. But they're all trying to do the same thing ultimately. So if they would just accept that fact and go, okay, like, you're welcome to, you know, because at the end of the day, it's all pretty much the same thing. Be a good person. Like,
be a good person. Look out for your neighbor.
You know, it's like they all come down to the same thing, but there's a couple little names that are different. There's a couple different, you know, practices that are a little bit different, but ultimately they're all
the same end game.
Get you to the right path.
Yeah, it's the same end game. I was at Agape today, and the Rev talked about that. He's like, you're all welcome here. There's no dogma attached, because at the end of the day, we're all on the same journey. Yeah. And as soon as we can all get together in the difference, the sooner we'll all get to the same place.
Yeah, and I think that's like another thing in society is like, even right now, it's like you see like all these labeling. There's so much labeling on so many different aspects of humanity, of like whether it's race, whether it's sexual preference, whether it's political preference, like all these things. It's like, you're this, and I'm this, and I'm this, and I'm this, and we're in this like time where it's like, okay, you need to celebrate who you are. And it's like, yeah, of course, but we all need to celebrate together. Like, I feel like that, like the world more so than ever is alienating groups. And it's almost like a false sense of empowerment that this group can have. Now you're empowered because you're this group. But in reality, it's still like separating them, because it's like, well, we're this type of person, and we're this type of person, and this type of person. But it's like, we're all the same. We're all people, and we're all living this human experience, even though we're all going through our own individual experience. And, you know, you might face something different in life that I might face something different, and you might face something different. You know, we all have different experience, but ultimately we have to find the way to make it all work together in order for us all to
evolve
and succeeding.
But that goes back to the transition not being immediate.
Yeah.
You know, it's the old paradigm of holding on to what you have because you're afraid of what's out there, and the unification and the unity of everybody together. So they're the same thing that you say, where they're giving us, they're conditioning us. Well, now the fear is setting in, like, well, I believed in Catholicism for my whole life, and my dad did, and so did my grandparents. How can I abandon this? They don't understand that you don't have to abandon that to accept something else.
Yeah.
But that's that old paradigm where my way is the right way, and if I give up on that, then that means everyone before me stood for something that might not necessarily be true, because they don't understand that where we are now is not where we were.
Yeah.
The circumstances have changed.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's frightening because a lot of that is attached to your ego and your identity.
The Rev talked about that today
yeah,
as well.
and it's like, and for so many people, their ego is what's keeping them afloat. Their ego is how they're moving throughout their space, you know, in work and career and relationships. It's very ego forward. So then when you start poking holes in the ego, they're like, it's like they're getting shot. Like, oh my God, like what's happening? Because now there's holes and I can kind of see myself, but I'm scared to go there.
Yeah. Fear is a motherfucker for real. Like it's, you know, in our society, that's like a big feeder they give us to keep us not growing, not taking chances, not risk taking. That's why you guys, like, that's why I don't skateboard. Fear. I don't want to fall and hurt myself. I got on one time, I like fell down and scratched my ass and my back. I was like, I'm never doing this again.
Yeah, but
just because of the fear. And these dudes will stick. He'll try a trick like 35 or 350 times until he gets it or invents it. Because you invented, didn't you invent a trick?
Possibly.
Yeah,
do other people say that you invented a trick? Like which trick is it? That people say.
There's one trick named after me, I guess. They call it the Muska flip. It's just like a way of doing a frontside kick flip. But yeah,
that's not what we're here
cool.
for.
I want to see it.
But my point was,
if I was known for anything, it'd be taking things to
the next level.
To the next level for like going down hand railings and things like that. But yeah, that's a whole.
But no fear though. That's what I'm saying.
That is real fearlessness, like in the physical.
Yeah, but I think like what you guys are saying is like two very different things. You know, fear of hurting yourself physically is so different than fear of letting go of ego. Yeah. You know, like that. They're two very, very different things. You know, because it's a lot less scary for me to go and throw myself down a set of stairs. Well, at one point, not as much in my older age, but still got a few tricks left, kids. But definitely not trying to compete with where they taken it to. But letting go of ego is the scariest thing ever. And even as I become more aware of these things, it's still a major fear. Like, you know, of if I'm not successful enough, will I lose my house? Will I not be able to pay for this car? Will I not be able to, you know, provide for my mother? You know, and some of that does come from ego, because as a person that has had some success in their life, you can't go backwards. You know, you're like, oh, I can't lose this. And so I find that being a fear that I have in my life that like is, you know, causes me to have stress and anxiety in things where I should just be going with the flow and not like just like, oh, I hope everything works out like magically, like not in that sense, but like the fear of letting go of ego can be an anchor that holds you back like enormously, because you may be afraid to express yourself in a certain way, because what if that doesn't work? What if people don't accept that? And I haven't had a lot of that in my life. If Eddie knows, like, you know, I do what I love to do, and I express myself through design and art and skateboarding and music and all these levels of creativity without no fear, because I've never really cared. Like, and I've never been the best at any of those things. I don't think I've ever been the best skateboarder. I don't think I've ever been the best artist or musician or, you know, all those things, designer, but I've fearlessly dove into all those things and did them with as much passion as I could possibly do, and people have accepted those things and related to them and supported them. And so for me, that just shows it's like, who cares? Like if your heart tells you that you really want to express yourself in some way, I believe that's truly what humans are here for, is to live this experience and to express through creativity in a lot of ways, and through thinking and thought and speech and talking about things like this. Like it's great. I express these thoughts pretty individually through my social media, and I don't really engage much with it. So it is great to talk to you guys and have this conversation and to think about these things and have somebody to bounce back and forth with it, because it's something that's very close and personal to me, but I'm not connecting with as many people and having these conversations. I'm more or less just putting it out there in the world. Because I guess as an artist, I spend a lot of time alone, and I'm very much focused on what it is I'm doing, and I don't have as much time to go out and connect with people like I once did, or maybe my heart is just telling me to focus on these creations, and so that's what I do a lot. And so it's great to be here and talk with you guys.
Oh, it's great to have you.
Yeah, we're stoked. We're stoked and humbled for sure, because you do have a lot of accomplishments. I mean, like, not to, you've done a lot, and it's a respectable workload and history that you've been able to accomplish.
And I just love how you speak about just you keep going, and your story is so incredible, because it really is a story of diving first in so many ways, because I'm sure you dove, physically, but also just mentally, like diving into your dreams and not letting anything stop you. Just like when you showed up to California with a cane, like, I'm going to be a pro skater. That's incredible. For so many people, they would say, it's over. You could have decided to just go left, and do something else, but you kept going. And then on top of that, then you speak about your, I don't know if it's right to call it a depression or just a darker period.
It was definitely depression. Yeah, for sure, mixed with it.
Yeah, and then you found a way to pull yourself up from that, and now you're this successful skateboarder and artist. And then we were watching something earlier about, it was kind of graphic. You fell and broke something, and then
there's been a lot of those.
I know. I'm like, I'm sure there's probably plenty of these.
Yeah.
And then you decided to start working on art.
Yeah. Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah. That's when I tore my ACL and lateral and medial meniscus, and I think it was in Paris when I fell on that one. Bent my knee completely backwards.
Yeah.
That's the one?
Kind of graphic.
Yeah, that was real graphic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think that's one thing that, like, skateboarding's given me so much in my life, like, not just like the fact that I was successful and became a pro skater and actually made money off of it. Not even on that level, just as a life lesson. Like, it taught me to get back up and keep trying, because, like you were saying with skateboarding, you can try a trick hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, and you never land this, and one time all of a sudden, boom, you're rolling away, and you just look down, you're like, I did it, like, I did it, and like, you might not even do it again ever, but you did it that one time at least, and so I really took that mentality and applied it to life, of like, no matter how many times you fail, it doesn't mean that you can't succeed ultimately. And then there is even fun in that journey, and it's like the journey is the whatever the
it's
destination.
Not the destination, it's the journey. Yeah, I know this one.
And it's an old saying, but there is so much truth in it. Mm-hmm. And skateboarding gave me confidence. It really taught me as a kid that, like, okay, if I can apply this mental and physical challenge and accomplish something, then I can also apply that to anything in life and go, okay, like, I want to, be a shoe designer. I'm going to sketch a shoe on a piece of paper and figure out how to do it, look for inspiration and create a shoe design. And I did that. And I wanted to produce music. So I'm going to get some beat and drum machines and figure out how to do it, press buttons until it starts making a song, and eventually produce an album. And I was able to do it. And I wanted to express myself through art and create art pieces and put them in a gallery show. And I was able to go and do that. And like, you know, so it's like,
Awesome.
I just feel like there's like, and I'm not trying to like brag about it in any way. Like, I'm not trying to say, oh, I did all this stuff. I did all this. I think I'm just trying to say to anybody out there that like, whatever it is that you want to do, just do it. Just have fun. And if your heart tells you to express yourself in these ways and whatever that is, as long as it's positive.
Right. Yeah, be a little mindful, folks.
Yeah.
Not anything.
Yeah, I think that you should do it, and you know, yeah, always ask yourself if your action is like bettering humanity, or if it's helping, you know, yourself in some positive way, or you know, to get it out. Like, I think that's an important part of what we put our energy into.
Yes. I wholeheartely agree with that. Like, so I'm a yoga teacher. And one of the things that we do in Kemetic yoga, it's based on sacred geometry principles. So and kind of like the hieroglyphics and some of the postures on the temple walls. So one of the things we do is when we do a manifestation sequence, we raise our hands in the air and then we bring it down and we push it up, and then we open up our hands to release it like a lotus flower into the universe. And then we always bring it down into our heart space to align it with our highest good and to align it with purpose, with our soul's purpose. And I find that so important because so many of us can have these dreams that are just completely ego driven. You only want something just for yourself or for selfish reasons or for greed. But then when you tap into your heart space and you realize, okay, I can do this for a bigger purpose, that's when you can really shift things in the world. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Are you following?
No,
I'm like,
I'm
you guys are
still stuck on-
silent.
No, I'm just listening because
Yeah, I mean, you
It's just me.
had us at open our hands up and then bring it. You know, I want to know how to do that.
Yeah,
you know,
we
so
can do
I
a whole sequence.
Yeah, so I can take that home with me.
I'm such a self-taught person of everything that I do, whether it was producing music or art or skateboarding. I've like really taught myself everything that I figure out how to do it on my own, and I've just been that way my whole life. And yoga, I just like kind of made up my own version of it.
That's
you know,
dope.
and I go and I do it and
So you practice yoga?
yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And does it help with some of the injuries that you've had?
Of course, 100%. Like I had a very bad back injury, and that really took me out. That was another time, like even after I became sober, I had this back injury, and it put me into another state of depression at one point. Even being completely sober, I had this injury and I wasn't able to skateboard. And then it got to the point even where I wasn't able to like put on my shoes when I got out of bed. You know, I would have to like, it took me like 20 minutes to get my socks and shoes on. Like, that's how bad my back was. And I have a herniated disc in my back, and I'm supposed to get surgery and all this stuff. And I was scared to death to get the surgery. I just did not want to go through it because I've heard good things about the surgery, but I've also heard bad things about it. And so that's when I was like, okay, like I just the same as I had a vision of like when I was partying and wanted to get out of that, said the same thing to myself here. I go, well, there's plenty of people in worse situations right now that are going about life and accepting whatever their challenges are and living a positive life. And that's when I had stopped and was like, okay, I'm not going to allow this injury to dictate my life. I'm going to work with, I'm not going to get the surgery. I made that mental choice, but I said that like, I'm not going to allow this to like stop me. And I left my house that day. I had been, you know, before that I would drive everywhere I went and everything. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to like get my skateboard and I'm just going to walk out of the house and see if I can roll down the street. And I left and I walked down. I live up Beechwood Canyon. It's pretty far up the mountain. Walked down the mountain, got to Franklin, jumped on my board at Franklin and Gower, bombed down Gower, hit Hollywood Boulevard. And next thing I know, I'm rolling on the stars, you know, and I'm rolling down Hollywood Boulevard and I feel the wind in my hair and, you know, and I'm cruising down the street and I'm like, oh man. And I felt this, like you said, I felt this energy come up through me, through my whole spine into my head. And it was like tingling at the top of my head. And I was like, woo, like I felt this crazy energy and I was like, and I because that's my freedom. The most freedom I ever have in any amount of life is when I'm on a skateboard. I get on that skateboard and the whole world ceases to exist around me. It's like everything becomes silent and you're just like going, you know, and it's like this, it's like a form of martial arts in a way because you're so focused because you could get hurt if you're not focused, you know, but beyond that, it's like, it's just such a crazy experience that only I guess a skater would know, but anybody who's had that through yoga, I'm sure you could reach that experience where
I think you're talking about maybe because we speak about it as like a kundalini energy at the base of the spine, and
Yes.
it shoots up through the chakras
Yeah.
along the
Through
spine,
the crown chakra.
through the crown, and just that's what it
Yeah.
sounds like.
Yeah.
I can't say it was a kundalini awakening, but that's what it sounds like.
I agree. I think 100% it was, and that's what I felt. And I'm skating down the street, and I was super bummed, like that. I mean, like getting like depressed mode, like heavily.
How long ago was that?
This is like probably 4 years ago or so.
Did you post about that?
I think so. You know, I have to. I'm so bad at time frames, but you know what it was? They were doing the event at no, it wasn't even 40. Probably only like less than 3 years ago.
Yeah, I think
now.
you posted about
'Cause
that.
that's
I think
when
you
they
said something.
they built the full pipe at Maxfield.
Yeah, you know
Scott-
what? I
Scott
saw.
Oster.
Yeah, I was there. I saw you there.
So it was the night that they had the party was on a Thursday. And I went there. I didn't skate that night because I was like, you know, I just checked out the party and I was like, just, oh, this is so cool. I wish I was skating with all these guys. You know, I was thinking at the party, like, how come I'm a ham sometimes, you know, like I love getting out when there's a chance to skateboard with all the friends, you know, it's like, I want to be out there with the homies skating too, you know, and I was pretty bummed because I wasn't skating with those guys that night, you know, and I seen it. And then, Saturday they had told me like, hey, Scott Oster, everybody's going to come out and skate Saturday. So that was that day. I said, you know, so I skated from my house up Beechwood Canyon all the way to Maxfield, which is it's a pretty far skate, you know? But on the way, I'm skating and cars are driving by and they're like, Muska, what up? You know, and I'm like, what's up? Like, you know, and I was like just so hyped. And then I roll up to Maxfield and it was early, still a little bit early in the morning. And I was like, damn, nobody's here, you know? And I kind of was just looking, they built this big full pipe, like huge, like 20, 30 foot tall or something like this, like a circle, basically a full circle ramp.
So it was like a circular pipe, like a.
You skate on that?
Yeah, you go. Yeah, you skate.
And it was like a sculpture, like that they had for an event, like you know. And,
well, it was adaptation. This guy Ali did a party for adaptation, and Scott and a bunch of guys came out and skated. I saw you there,
so
but I saw all this on social because you posted.
Yep.
You're like, I did it. Like he walked through the experience. You know, limitedly, obviously, but I remember that, and I caught that.
Yeah, and then I pull up and I don't see anybody there, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna take off. And so right as I'm starting to skate away, Jesse Martinez is there, and he's like, yo, Muska, and Jesse's like an OG skater, like that was like the generation before me that I looked up to, you know, as a kid. I'm like, oh shit, it's Jesse, you know, like, and he's a Venice loc, like just crazy, like the raddest dude, you know.
He's the shit.
And I'm like, okay, cool. And he calls me over, and so I go, what's up? And he's like, oh shit. And then Eric Dressen shows up, and Christian Hassoy and Block, and you know, all the homies show up, you know, and I'm like, and then we just start skating, and I just like started skating that ramp and had like the best day, and that was the start to me, like, and by no means I'm not at the level that I once was with skateboarding, but I'm able to do it again. And I went from like not being able to put my shoes on and socks on in the morning. I still have bad days. Don't get me wrong. Like just yesterday when I, and it's funny, my artwork hurts my back more than my skateboarding does now, because I'm very like, I'm almost a construction worker more than an artist.
It's heavy.
I work with concrete and steel and wood and all stone and all these difficult, I like to make things difficult on myself, I guess. My latest thing I work with now, I'm learning this rammed earth technique, and it's taking the earth and mixing it with sand and creating forms and pounding the earth into stone. So I'm sort of like mimicking nature and making sedimentary rock basically out of earth. But it's a pretty hard process, and so you can do it with mechanical tools like a compressed air jackhammer type machine, but I'm just like pounding it with a hammer and building these forms. And I went in my backyard. I don't have a flat land where I live, so I'm like on a mountainside. So I'm like on a rope, like down on my mountain, digging this hole and like filling a bucket with dirt and straining it. And like, so I went through all this process to get this dirt and to refine it. And then to like finally build this form and pound it all in. And then I woke up yesterday and I was like, oh my God, I can't move. Like I couldn't barely, it was back again. But I go, okay, this has happened before. And I just breathe and do my stretches. And I'm like an old car or something. You got to like, you got to kickstart me a little bit. And once I get going, it's like, got my socks on, got my shoes on, give me the shovel, boy, let's go. So I'll get going again, you know? So I'm just aware of it. We're all, you know, we all go through pain in our life, you know? Some days we feel sick. Sometimes we wake up and it's just like, I don't feel good today, you know? And I had my back hurt, and it also triggers migraines for me. So yesterday I had a gnarly migraine. had a bad day yesterday, and that's part of life. And I've come to accept that. And I go, okay, we're going to have bad days, and some days we're going to feel sick, and that's all part of the cycle, you know, and one day eventually we'll become ill, and one day we'll die. And
that's life.
And I understand that, and I accept that, and I'm not scared of that, because I do believe that there is something greater than this. I believe that there's a higher power than myself. I believe that there's another dimension that we enter into, and that the spirit lives on forever, and energy is forever. And even if it's not this exact soul that I am, and this being that I am right now, I know that this energy goes right back into the cycle and spins around and comes back out into something, you know what I mean? Like, no energy is left behind, you know? And so, so like, I just, that's all been part of my change as well too. And part of my acceptance with this reality. And it doesn't mean that I don't like to like to really expand my mind and think outside of like, okay, well, what else is there? Like, I like to question things to some extent, but I don't allow it to become like a rabbit hole that I go down and like, you know, and like, because as much as we're meant to like think and use these brains and to question some of our existence, like at some point there's no answer, because for me, the higher being, God, Allah, Buddha, whatever name you have for this bigger existence, it cannot be spoken and put into human words, because once you speak of this higher power, you're humanizing it.
Yeah, you're bringing it down
and that brings the vibration down, and then that opens it up to contradiction, interpretation, criticism,
skepticism,
you know?
the isms,
because you know that and so I try not to speak too much on religion or God and you know, however you want to put it. I just know that like for me, for myself, there's something greater than all this, and I believe that like in energy and in karma and possibly in rebirth and reincarnation and all these things, and so that's why I feel it's important to live your best life now and do as much as you can. Have realistic expectations of yourself. Like I know I can't go out and end every war right now, today. I can't go like, I'm going to go change the world and stop every war. I can't feed every hungry person. I can't save every animal on the planet. I can't do all that as an individual. But as an individual, I can be a better person. I know I can. I know I can do that. I can be a better person. I can be like what you said. I can, if a person walks past me on the street, I can choose to not look them in the eye and just look down and walk past, or I can look at them and smile and hi, how's it going? You know, what's up? You know, have a good day. Keep walking, do my thing. You know what I mean? Like, people are scared to even do that nowadays. Like, people look at me like I'm crazy. Like, sometimes I have people mad at me.
Look,
like, I smile at them and be like, hey, what's up? Like,
why are you looking at me?
So let's talk about that one for a second.
Whoa, okay, bro. Like, it's all good, man.
Why are you so happy?
For me and for my, you know, graffiti culture and like, you know, hard dude thing, right? Like, I don't want to meet your friend. I don't say hi to people on the street. You don't look at somebody too long. And I've kind of completely changed that as a tool for myself to become a lot more humbled and a lot more grounded and open, and show that I'm open. And like, I look a little different to people. Sometimes I'm intimidating looking, the tattoos, the bald head, whatever. And I am on purpose. I speak to as many people as I can when I'm in public, and wherever I go. I talk to the cashier. I talk to the guy bagging my groceries. I get out of the Uber and I say, hey man, great job. Thank you very much. 5 stars. I give those little tidbits away because that's so small for us, but it is not common because we're conditioned to be different. And me and Menso and Al Bashir, whatever, ABH, were painting at a club in Hollywood. And a girl walked through the alleyway, and it wasn't a dark alley. We're on Cahuenga. It was all bright, and I spoke to everyone that walked by. And I said, hey, how are you today? And she got mad at me. Why would you talk to me? I'm a woman by myself. And I'm like, whoa, I was speaking to her to try to cut the load for her as she came through the way. And she really got mad at me. Well, I'm mentally ill and you shouldn't speak to me. And I'm homeless. And she just immediately went off on me. And you know what I did? I reacted negatively at first. I was like, yo, I'm trying to be nice. Don't make me go back to old Eddie. And then I thought, I'm like, you know what? Let her go. Because she's just getting it off. You know, she's just letting out her steam. It has nothing to do with Eddie. Yeah. And I saw a video yesterday and it had a guy in a car. He was an Uber driver. The guy almost wrecked into him. And the guy in the back's like, he goes, hi, and he waved. And the guy goes, how can you be so nice to that person? He goes, people are like garbage trucks. They drive around all day. They fill up with garbage and negativity and they got to let it out. When they let it out, you just don't take it personal because all they're doing is dumping all the shit from the day. So you're right. People, you know, they don't expect the niceness and they don't expect hello and how are you doing?
Yeah. And it's so interesting because our natural reaction for so many of us is to be unkind back. Like if someone says something mean to you, you immediately want to just say, well, no, you are and you're this. But actually the people who are spewing the most hate are the ones who need the most love and the ones who need the smiles and the compassion, just to shift their attention or their energy towards something a little bit higher, something a little bit more positive.
That's right.
But it does take a lot of self-reflection and patience to be able to do that. So
yeah, but you know what, if you've done the work and you understand it, and we talked about this earlier, if you know the difference between right and wrong, it's not that hard. It's not hard for me to look at a dude or a girl or anyone that's mad and gets all aggro for me to be nice. It's not hard anymore because it's only right to just be kind and like understand that's not my problem. That's the first thing, right? But it's just compassion, you know, like I don't know what that person's going through. And if you're nice back or if you're nice in return to anger or aggression, that person probably learns a solid lesson of like, wow, I was wrong. But if you immediately come back with anger or aggression, then that person is validated in their actions. So you're actually teaching people by just ignoring it and kind of keeping it moving.
And two angries don't make a happy.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
That's right.
But like you're right, like love and compassion literally just neutralizes situations. It's like water, like it just neutralizes things.
And even if that person's not open to it at that point, then you just gotta, you know, just be nice and keep your energy moving. You know what I mean? Like
maintain who you are. Throughout it all.
Yeah, but
it's definitely like easier said than
done because we know, especially with loved ones, those are the ones who for me are the most challenging. It's like anyone could say anything, but if my sister comes to me and she like steals my clothes, I'm like, Lauren or Jordan. So it's a problem. There are teachers, you know, we incarnated with all of these people for a reason.
I don't have too many loved ones to interact with anymore, so I don't really go through that one. But like I have a lot of brothers that are in my crew, and so
like best friends also.
Yeah, it's kind of the same. Like, you know, like we have a mutual friend that we care a lot about that I don't necessarily see eye to eye with a lot. And we've had a lot of conversations about that. So one little thing that person might do might really affect me a lot because I feel the weight of their problems.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Let's talk about art for a minute though. Thank you for being in the show.
Okay. It's on.
I called Chad. And
November 15th and 16th.
Yeah, I called Chad. I was like, you want to be in? He's like, yeah, man, of course, whatever you want. You know, and I kind of told him what we were doing. But the show is to benefit Acon Lighting America, which is going to, you know, hopefully Acon's going to come and do a lot of really great work bringing solar energy to underserviced areas of the United States, similar to what he's done in Africa. Another thing we're doing is Assist, which you can probably relate to this. Assist is it's medical professionals and people who are trying to teach medical professionals that there are options for people who are mentally challenged. So if they have bipolar or they're homeless or depression, they don't need medicine. They don't need institutions. They need therapy. They need meditation. They need a friend. They need a hug. You know what I mean? So that's one of the other charities or organizations we're benefiting. And also Disclosure Fest. Adrian has created a really wonderful platform where he does these free meditations and these free festivals for people to come out. It's all vegan, no alcohol, and it's great time, great music. So those are the three high points of what we're all getting together for. And I love your work, you know.
Thank you.
And what I really love the most about your work is I love you as a human because you're a great dude, and that comes out in your work. Like you can feel your work as an outsider. Like when I look at it, it's not just paint on the canvas without emotion. to just, make art. It's like, I can see that you're putting your heart and soul into your work.
Thank
so
you.
we thank and appreciate you for being a part.
Yeah, and I appreciate the positive message that this show is putting out, and it's like we go way back, and that was all I needed to hear, and I was like, oh yeah, of course I got you, of course I got you.
Man. It's nothing but love right here. I mean, honestly, I've been a fan of yours. I'm not much for skateboarding. It's not really my thing, but I've been a fan of yours because I've been lucky enough to watch you evolve, and to not to toot your horn or like play you up, but you've always seemed, even at your darkest moment, like you had it covered, and that's admirable, because at my darkest moment, you can tell that I don't have it covered. Like, I'm very outward with that shit. Like, when I'm a mess, so I respect that. You must have not just ran into me those times.
He's like, well,
luckily I didn't. Maybe I wasn't supposed to.
Yeah.
But kudos to really staying strong and being
and I think that art for me has been very therapeutic in many ways. Like, and I think that it's so a lot of my friends are crazy. I would say that they have like a level of insanity to them. But I think that most of them have found ways to challenge, channel that insanity into something positive, but maybe we're all sort of teetering on the edge a lot of times in life, but I think that some of the most beautiful art is created out of a level of insanity and a level of opening your mind and seeing the world in a different way. If an artist just looked at the world the same as everybody else, I don't know if they would be able to potentially create something that challenged thought of other individuals or made them question themselves or society or all these things. So I think that, like, as artists self-heal themselves through the work that they create, then that work can also now channel into other people and help heal them, maybe just by looking at it. It's like if that energy is real and energy exists in everything, in every action, in every object, then the work as it's being created, if there's truth in that energy and that truth is put into that piece, then the viewer should by all means feel that energy and have it affect them in some sort of way. I think that, like, art has to make you feel an emotion or evoke thought in some way. Otherwise, it's not art,
That's right.
It's just a fabricated piece of something.
Yeah, what's crazy is I just thought about it. Like, I just talked about how grounded it seems that you always are, and now you're working with your grounding dirt into rock. It's like that's it speaks to who you are.
Oh man,
yeah, I'm interested in that. So you mentioned something about the sedimentary rock. So what was the inspiration behind working with this kind of medium?
So my whole life is like one thing leads to another thing, leads to another thing, leads to another thing, and art originally began with me from skateboarding and graffiti, and who would have thought that it's been a long transitional period from being a teenager spray painting and getting arrested and to being an adult spray painting and getting arrested, not all of which I'm proud of, but it was just something I did forever, and I always love it. It was part of my youth. It was part of my rebelling against society, of being an anti-establishment person, like all these things that I wanted to be as a youth. I found other ways to express those ideas and thoughts and open up my mind in different ways than spray painting on a building. But I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. I don't personally do it anymore. And so through that experiment of being injured, turning back into my graffiti roots to have like an outlet, eventually I was like, oh, well, I would like to display this stuff as well too, take it off the wall, take it and put it into a gallery. And when I was doing that, I found that for myself at least, and I was never the best graffiti artist. I was a tagger pretty much. I could throw some pieces up, but I wasn't that great. I could do it, but as I was finding ways to display what I was doing creatively, I had to find something different than just doing a piece or writing my tag and putting that in a gallery. It felt like that didn't make sense to me, at least for myself. I felt like whatever was spray painted on the street was meant for the street, and if you could find a way to apply that to fine art, then that was a cool concept. And I think we've seen a lot of graffiti artists, although it's challenging, you know, like how do you take what you do as a graffiti artist and apply it to fine art? It's a tricky thing, you know. And I like what Revoke has done a lot.
Yeah, he flipped it, you
know, and really taking, there's the elements are there, but he's really took it in a different level, you know, and applied it in a fully new way. And I like seeing that. I like seeing, and then even some of the elements like Futura or somebody like, you know, where it's like, there's still a lot of the elements of graffiti there, but they're really changing it and taking it to a different level than just your classic throw up letters or a burner or a tag, or just using spray paint as a medium and only splattering it or creating some patterns with it. So all those things were happening, and I was experimenting with the mediums that I was familiar with, which were spray paint. And then I thought of this idea of like replicating the wall. And so that's when I started to mess with cement more, and I started to work with concrete. And also through skateboarding, I had a unique relationship to the medium of concrete because I spent my entire life slamming my body against it, you know. And then I started to make actual like objects in the streets, like guerrilla skate spots, you know what I mean? Gorilla one.
Yeah, that's right, Gorilla one.
And so like then I started to create cement forms and shapes, and I was really getting into larger scale sculpture with concrete. And then with the concrete, I was adding aggregate stone and rock into it. And then I closed my studio down and went into my garage, and I live up Beechwood Canyon. And so my space shrunk, and then I started to like hike the trails more, and I was hiking all around my house, and I started to look at stone and look at the trees, and that's when I really started to like connect more with nature. And I'd been such a city kid my whole life. I was like, you know, New York City, Tokyo, Paris, London, Los Angeles, you know, like I always wanted to be like somewhere in this urban environment. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, like even though I'm in Beechwood, I'm still close to Hollywood, just being on this dirt trail and looking at the trees blowing or the bushes and the different flowers that were growing at that time, or and the stones and the colors and the formation. So I just started to like really fixate on these objects, and I started to like pick up these rocks and carry them back to my garage and pick up these branches, and all of a sudden I had like all these stones and all these branches and all these things like organic material in my garage, not knowing what I was going to do with them. But I started to see like beauty in those objects, and I would start to stack like the wood, and then I started kind of making these totems from like wood and stone. And then I was figuring out how to shape the stone and getting these diamond blades and diamond core drill bits, and then stacking, so drilling holes through them and then welding steel that I could like mount the branch with the stone, and sort of like stacking these totems kind of. And so that really started my. I know it's a long story, sorry, but I just kind of was showing the transition that came from graffiti and street culture all the way into getting to the earth, I guess. And so all of a sudden I was working with these organic materials, and that was really inspiring to me, and to see these the raw elements, the beauty in something that like to turn a branch or a rock that just sat there for millions of years possibly, and nobody would even pay any mind to it, to like pick that random object up and turn it into something, a thing of beauty, and something that people could go into a gallery and admire. Was something cool about that to me. And then as I was doing the concrete form and shapes, I somehow along the way stumbled upon the rammed earth procedure. And it's been around for, you know, thousands and thousands of years. The Great Wall of China is built with this technique, and it's still standing 2,000 years later. A lot of homes in the Middle East are made out of these, and they're, you know, 500-year homes that the person's great grandparents built this place, and they still live in it. And I'm like, whoa, that's like so amazing, because you would think like, oh, it's just dirt like rammed together. Like that's probably going to be weak and that's going to fall apart, you know? And so I don't know. And there's just like so much beauty in the raw elements that I can find, and especially that I can go in my backyard and dig this hole.
I guess it is a lot cheaper, huh?
It's still, there's still cost in material, because I add a little bit of cement in with the mixed. You can add straw, or you can add lime, if you don't want to have any type of synthetic material. For some of these processes, and I'm fairly new at it. I'm just now starting to experiment with it. So I'm always on the search for process of different things, and how can I apply that to something similar to what I'm doing. And I don't know, but I can ramble on and on and on about this stuff.
No, but it's interesting.
I'll stop.
No, but it's really interesting. I mean, and when you're saying it, what I hear is like, you think about the concept that we're all one, you know, we're all one with that, the energy, the earth, the water, and that, you know, you talk about picking up a rock that you walk past, and how many people have walked that trail and walked past that rock, and now that rock is in someone's home in Australia or wherever a collector would purchase it from and ship it to. That's a whole nother thing, but it's dynamic. It's definitely dynamic to think about how intricate that process is for you.
And for me, like, I'm always trying to like search for something that's my own identity in some way, with whether it was skateboarding, or trying to find an obstacle that like other people may have not looked at to ride down. Like, oh, there's this like rooftop that you have to fly off of to hit this hubba ledge or handrail, or you know, it's just trying to look at my urban environment in a different approach, in a different way. I've tried to apply that to like my design, like in footwear design, where I can go, okay, like, don't look at every skate shoe and go, what's the best selling skate shoe? I'm just going to put my name on my
knock it off,
version
new
of that.
colors.
I want to try to find and create something new that doesn't exist, or not that it doesn't exist, but at least like something different that I feel that I can help explore and do in a different way, and in a unique way. And so that's kind of how I look at my artwork as well, as I've seen a lot of my peers and best friends working in, you know, spray paint and acrylic and oil and a lot of the traditional mediums. I think it pushed me away from those things and made me want to search for something else that I didn't see my friends necessarily working in, and try to find something that I can maybe add to the table. So if they're doing that, I could be doing this, but together we're all friends and a crew that we can like all have something unique to offer, but we're still connected through our friendship for years and years and years, and you know, just beyond art and anything else.
Have you ever been to Montana?
I've been through it, but I need to like go there and check it out more.
So I just hooked up with this place called Paws Up in Montana, 37,000 square foot acre glamping facility. We should plan a trip, dude, and see if we can go out there and make some wonderful art, because I'm sure that 37 acres has a huge river going through it. We should plan a retreat, dude, and go out there and just do it.
That could be cool.
I mean, they're very into art, and they're looking for things.
You could get me out of the garage.
Beachwood.
I made it. I'm already here.
I know.
I made it.
Step one.
I made it through the craziest experience coming here. I kind of shared it with you guys. GPS took me down the back dirt road of death on the way here.
In Malibu.
Aliens tried to abduct you. He got away, and he's here.
I was on the close encounter of the Malibu kind over
That's
here.
right.
I don't know what was happening. I thought Eddie was trying to set me up, get the cartel take me over something or something.
Hijack. We're gonna hold you
I was
captive.
scared. I was scared coming over here.
My idea was I wanted one of those totems. So I'm like, if I get him scared enough and he's like, come find me, I'll just be like, all right, in exchange for a totem. I'll come get you.
And I also knew that you were on like, you know, more of a spiritual retreat yourself. And you know, you've been in this podcast had touched upon that, and I knew that bit about it a little bit. So I was like, well, wait a minute, these guys like living in yurts out in the middle of the Malibu Canyon.
Like, what's really going down?
They got some so they rammed Earth home out there already. So Eddie's dug himself a pit.
Little hole's gonna open up in the side of the mountain.
Come in, Chad.
Come in, right?
Because there was nothing.
We're gonna be meditating.
I was a good half an hour driving down this dirt road, and I saw like no vehicle access granted. And I'm in my Prius driving down this dang dirt road, seeing some tarantulas going across. I didn't know what. I was hearing noises in the bushes. I was scared. I wasn't gonna lie. This is just Halloween. It was a couple days ago. I watched a couple scary movies. I thought I was going down, man. I was scared. But I made it. I made it to the yoga retreat over here. We're here. I'm safe.
The yoga retreat, right?
You did make it. You did make it.
It means you're supposed to be here.
Yeah. Yes. To the art show. Do I have to go through that same route that I got here?
Yes. No,
No, it's in downtown LA on Jesse in Santa Fe. It's
I can
right
get
near,
myself to downtown LA.
It's near Retina Studio.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely going to be there. I'm definitely come through and support. I think it's such a great cause for what you guys are doing, to bring all those great artists together and, not only able to be exposed to some great art, but for another great cause.
Well, let me tell you
several great causes.
Let me tell you a couple other things that are happening that weekend, which I haven't told you. So Friday night, we have a meditation to start off the weekend for Set the Intention. And then we have the art show. DJ Kilu from Freestyle Fellowship. He's also Agape will be there. We got Paul Oakenfold and a couple other people performing on Friday.
Wow.
Then Saturday, we have Painting with Kids with Amanda Sage. She's going to do this dream vision thing that she does, vision train that she does with kids. We also have a couple yoga classes on Saturday. Then we have a couple other performers performing. We're in the night with DJ Snoopadelic. So it should be a wonderful weekend. We're looking forward to it.
Who's Snoopadelic? Snoop Dogg?
Snoop Dogg's DJ.
But he's Snoopadelic when he
when he's on the ones and twos.
Yeah.
Not Snoop Lion?
No, not Snoop Lion is his reggae guy.
Okay.
I know about that one too.
And then during the day, we also have a midday 33-year anniversary celebration for Agape Spiritual Center. So Reverend Michael Beckwith's going to come out with the band and the choir.
Okay.
And that's going to probably be my highlight of the weekend, besides all my friends.
And this is all at the same location?
At the same location.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a donation-based ticket sale, so you can donate $22 or $22,000.
Okay.
We appreciate your donation as well. We have a lot of our friends in the show. I mean, Retna has a board in the show. David Arquette's in the show. David Navarro's in the show. Who else is in the show? Let's talk about it. Well, I can't read any of that. It's too far away. But Esteban Orio's in the show.
I saw a lot of the names and I was like, whoa, so, such an honor to be a part of that group and to show. And
well, you always support whatever we do. Like, the Seventh Letter has a lot of admiration for you because you always show up when we need you. So we appreciate you.
It's nothing but love, man.
That's right.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys, did you come through to the skate jam that I did back in the day?
Probably.
In Casey and all the homies. And I had this grand vision. It was like probably around year 2000. And to bring together skateboarding, graffiti, hip hop, drum and bass, breakdancing, and we had like all the Seventh Letter guys.
Where was it?
It was in the what was it? The great. Yes. What was it called again?
The Orange Show.
Yeah, the Orange Show Fairgrounds. Yeah. And we had like Redman and Method Man perform. Alcoholics. Razul was beatboxing. We had a b-boy breakdance battle. A big old crazy skate ramp that I designed. It's like this massive like launch ramp thing, and it was like DJ battles and it was just really bringing.
I don't think I went to that one.
Bringing all these elements together, but Casey always talks to me about it. We had the Bashers crew out there.
It's great.
OG, PR, right? Steve and all the homies. Yeah, and it was this crazy event. It was like we didn't know what the hell we were doing, so it was like a little crazy behind the scenes, but we did it, and it was always something to remember. But that's I think my first introduction to Casey and the Seventh Letter guys was around that time, and I got nothing but love for all the homies that have been around all these years, and such a fantastic magical ride it's been so far, and I can't wait to see where it goes.
That's right.
Only the beginning.
We want to thank you for coming out
always.
to the Space Between podcast, and we look forward to seeing you at the show. Sarah, thank you for walking us through this.
Yes,
it's been a pleasure meeting you. Your energy is divine. I swear.
That's right.
Yeah. Wow, yours as well.
I really feel it. You're a
Thank
great
you.
person, and I can tell that you're doing good for this world.
Oh, thank you.
And I appreciate it.
And you as well for being an
thank
inspiration for so many people.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Yeah, me and this guy. We don't go. No.
Yeah.
We
And
hug
Eddie.
it
I got
out
love-
all the
and Eddie,
time.
your wisdom.
We got love. We got love for Eddie. Nothing but love for this
That's
guy
right.
right here. He's
Thank
he's a
you.
good man right here. And to
Yeah.
hear your story of self-improvement is inspirational, man. It's like
I got 84 days sober today.
That's what's up, man. To a
And-
lifetime ahead of you.
I mean, I'm not going back out, bro. I mean, I'm telling you, like you said, that switch flipped, and I know a lot of old timers are like, take the cotton out of your ears and put it in your mouth, but that's not my deal.
Yeah.
Like, I know wholeheartedly that I'm a sober individual now, and it's because of this show, to be honest with you.
Wow.
Because I started doing this with Joey, and I was showing up, and I was one foot in, 1 foot out, and I was like, I can't help people if I'm 1 foot in and 1 foot out. I'm wobbly. I need to be my best, live my best life now. And not that I had a huge problem or it was really affecting my day to day, but it just wasn't right.
Yeah.
It's time for a new thing, a new life, and a new time, and that's part of it. Yes. And everything since I've done it has been amazing. I'm a much friendlier person. God has opened up so many different doors for me that I wasn't necessarily looking at the way I'm looking at them now. So by the grace of God, I sit here sober, and all good.
That's amazing.
I'm right here with you.
Yeah.
But me and you have been having this conversation for a while.
Yeah.
We've talked many times about sobriety. Yeah. I've been in and out, but just getting right. When I came and visited you downtown at that space, and we talked about our friend, it's like there's so many examples of people around us that are not doing the right thing, and we're seeing exactly where it's taken them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm not a rocket scientist for figuring it out. It's just you got to do what's right, and I'm trying to lead by example, and I know that I have impact on a lot of people around me because of who I am and what I've done, and I want to make them proud. So it's not just for my own selfish reasons so that I can get rich or get the right people around me. It's also to lead by example. If I have 5 years left or 50, I'm going to make sure that time is right.
Yeah. Yeah. The hardest part is seeing good friends that you love and care about not see the light, and not see that, like, how long do you want to abuse yourself and hurt the people around you? Because it's not only when you're like messing up and you're on drugs or you're drinking out of control, you're not only hurting yourself. Majority of the time, you're hurting your friends and your family along the ride with you. And so like that's how I always look at it. It's like how long would you want to continue that cycle and just choose to create this negativity in your life and in your surrounding life? It's just like I don't get it, but it's happens. And
well, if you think about it, for people like you and other people and even myself to a certain extent, there's a lot of people that look up to us and they want to be like people like us and do what we do. And if we're glorifying that shit, it's not just our friends that we affect. It's people at a distance that are watching us on Instagram. So if Instagram and social media gives you global impact, and you're a knucklehead and you're doing all these wrong things, you're affecting people globally. Your energy is going across the world. And
much quicker, right?
Yeah, so why not just tuck it in and do what's right? Like you said, we're not going to stop wars, but I guarantee you the things that I'm doing now and the way that I'm living now is changing a lot of people's perspective on things. I've had some really roughneck dudes hit me up like, yo, man, where are you going to yoga at? And I'm like, that dude's not, that dude's, no, but I mean, I'm talking about like some surly people.
You would
like,
never guess.
What's up with yoga? And I'm like, I can't take this dude to yoga. Like my teacher would be like, who's the dude with all the tattoos on his face, But it's just living right, and it's an energetic thing. And I'm grateful that you came, bro.
I appreciate it. And, and I know that like I don't have all the answers to everything. I'm not going to sit up here and act like I do, like, oh, I'm enlightened being, I'm better than everybody. It's nothing like that. It's just, I think it's just, but it's good to have these positive talks and to open the mind for everybody and for ourselves as a reminder too. And I think it's all positive, and I appreciate the fact that I was able to be here today.
Yes.
Thank
well,
you.
hopefully we can have you back, and maybe
you.
if we're doing a lot of things, we have a lot of plans to expand the program. So we would love to have you back and participate in something.
I know which way not to drive.
Right. Take PCH, please.
PCH.
Take the ocean.
Turn right. Don't go left at the end of the road. Yo, what's the deal? This is Muska. Shout out to the Space Between podcast.
Hey.
Check it out.
Hey.
Yo, what's the deal? This is Muska. Check out the Space Between podcast.